Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Zero Project Conference 2026. My name is Alessandro Gobello. I'm a communication manager and part of the Zero Project team. In this Fireside Chat, we'll discuss the realities of social media for persons with facial differences. I'm extremely honored and happy to have here with me Nikki Lilly and Matilda Lansdowne from Face Equality International. Hi, Matilda. Hi, Nikki. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience on social media?
You want to go first?
Thank you, Alessandro, and thank you for having us. I'm Matilda. I look after community and partnerships with Face Equality International, and I was also born with a cleft lip. So I have seen both sides of social media, with it giving us, access to essentially an informal support group and community. And then through Face Equality International's channels, we unfortunately are kind of the front line of seeing and reporting hate, discrimination, and abuse online.
I'm Nikki Lilly. I started posting videos on social media when I was 8 years old. And I do presenting, and I'm also the patron of Face Equality International, which is where Matilda works. I have, probably seen firsthand the two sides of social media, both the good and the not so good, very similarly to what Matilda said. I think the beauty of social media is that it allows people to connect with others who are like-minded or have gone through similar things, whether that be disabilities or visible differences. I definitely felt like I found, it's even how I found FEI. You can really find your community and tribe there when you don't feel seen in your real life. But equally on the other side of that, because it's more accessible than ever, it unfortunately means that then anyone can comment hate, anyone can create an account, anyone can, be prejudiced against just if someone has a phone. So I think it's beautiful to, have something like social media that brings people together. But also there's a lot of work to be done that it doesn't, tear people apart at the same time, especially people with facial differences.
Yeah. And we're seeing more and more people are getting more creative with their hate and trolling, unfortunately. And a lot of platforms you're now able to leave comments, either video or image, comments like GIFs, and these can be open to interpretation. And we are interpreting them as we see them. And unfortunately, that is, comparing people's likenesses to horror movie characters, comic book villains. There's even commentary left under some of our videos about encouraging people to kill themselves because of the way that they look.
And by seeing this increasing number of hate comments and trolling, can you share a little bit more with us what has been your work on digital platforms, online platforms, to support persons with facial differences and visible disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it feels like an almost daily occurrence, right? We're trying to speak to a social media platform about helping us do better. Currently, Face Equality International, we are the trust and safety partner for TikTok. Yep. So we do have, a degree of influence with TikTok, which has been helpful in the past to alleviate some harmful situations. But there's still a lot of work to do, and if one platform does one thing and the other doesn't follow, it's kind of one step forward, two steps back.
Yeah.
It's also a lack of policy in that sense.
Definitely.
That needs to be filled, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think the difficulty is that there isn't really any, it's very easy to, they'll say report the comment, block the person, but you'll report the comment and you'll block the person, but then they can either make a new account or you do the report and they'll say it's not a violation of their community guidelines. And I think that's part of the problem massively, is that there's not really been anything instated in the community guidelines that outlines or considers people with facial differences and visible differences, because they haven't really been seen for a long time under like a medical lens or a priority. But if in 111 people have a visible difference, that's a massive part of the population that's being
Absolutely.
unconsidered, and therefore, you know, social media should be a place to learn, and that's why it was created, to learn, to escape, to connect. But somewhere along the way, it's become, you know, there's of course the good side of it, but somewhere along the way, it's become about hate and negative comments, and so I think it's so important for, you know, TikToks, the Instagrams, all of these to go back to the people that are firsthand on the front line affected by these comments and these groups and these minorities, to then work with them, you know, to make these changes. And I think sometimes it's hard to not feel like problems versus people they want to kind of work with and alongside on, you know, creating safer spaces for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think TikTok have created a new kind of a safer creator hub, which they really need to do some better marketing on so people know about it. And, you know, Nikki, you just said there, of course, which reminded me of Face Equality International's most viral video, which was following the of course trend, if anyone followed that.
Oh, yeah.
In the first 24 hours of posting that, we had over 1,000 comments, over 1 million views. And we're a very small team, and that was quite overwhelming, not just because of some of the language being used, but simply the volume. We couldn't get through to everything.
Of course.
And so that, you know, helped us in a sense to prove how serious this issue is. And we then recorded for over a quarter of 2024, over a 3-month period. We recorded, I think it was 80 singular reports of hate and discrimination, and only 20% of those reports were actually upheld or even responded to. So it's, again, we're coming up against barriers quite a lot of the time.
Thank you both. As our time runs, I would like to ask you what practical steps and concrete steps we can give to our audience for improving the experience of persons with facial differences online, as they don't only face hate and trolling, but also are cut off from online banking and other different kind of online services, for example.
Great question, and Nikki did cover this quite a lot in her keynote this morning. And, you know, like you said, if you are someone with a facial difference, you are going to face trolling and discrimination and hate online, which is unacceptable. But that's if your content even gets posted. So I know, you know, Nikki and other people in our community have let us know that when they post, you know, harmless, innocent images of their life, just telling their story, the platform will actually block their content. They will label it as harmful. They'll label it as violent, shocking, and that's another limit to, you know, finding that support. You know,
and feeling even more ostracized as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's very hard, you know, being someone where social media is a massive part of my job and my life. And again, though I love it, I think it's very, very hard to manage social media and navigate it as someone with a facial difference, or essentially, you know, people online pick on anything that seems different, because when you don't know difference is something that becomes feared when actually it shouldn't be feared at all. But that's also down to, you know, social media apps and tech not instating, you know, services or settings or things that can be done in their apps to make it feel more normalized, you know. And so I think I had an issue on social media last year where I posted a video and it went viral. And I was inundated with about 5,000 comments of just people taking screenshots of my face, cropping this side of my face so it just showed this side, and re-commenting it in my comments, saying, oh, the potential you could have had, or using AI to mirror the sides of my face and re-commenting that. And luckily on Instagram, they let me know when I spoke to my contact there that there's a setting where you can actually turn off GIFs and images. So that's obviously great, because then that stops that completely. But then on all other social medias, that isn't something available yet. And of course, that is literally just scraping the surface of, an option available. But I think it's really navigating. It's very hard. I feel like even every day I'm trying to navigate it myself. I think there's times where I've had to kind of take breaks from my comments, because though it should be a place where I should be able to reply and engage, if I'm going in and I'm seeing hate or, not, nice comments, I'm not going to want to. Yeah.
And I think it's really good to hear that there are organizations like Face Equality International
Definitely.
that are working with these social media and online platforms, and showing that banning comment and moderating the behavior online does have an impact, and we need more policy on this.
Yeah.
More policy for sure, and I think the policy is really important for us as an organisation to be able to feed back to our community that they are involved in that policy work and that change in the language. And we also need to recognise that language there's going to be nuances, and it's going to change, because your disability or your facial difference is going to be different to other people. We're going to have different needs. So there isn't, unfortunately, a one-size-fits-all, which is why I think the platforms are struggling to be able to make it a safer, better environment for our community.
Yeah. And I think it's such a deep-rooted issue that we have both separately spoken to, some tech companies, especially social media-based ones. And I think there is, they are trying, but I think it's such a big issue and so much that actually needs to be set in stone in terms of policies, concrete things, legislation, and ways in which people are actually, reprimanded for commenting hate, which isn't there, that I think people just do feel like they can kind of get away with anything on social media. Because more likely than not, I don't think 99% of the comments I have received that haven't been so kind on social media, anyone would ever say to me in person. It's that, because they have a phone and know...
That sort of barrier and screen that people kind of have and think that social media protect them with the screen, but it actually doesn't.
No.
It actually doesn't. Is there something else, Nick and Matilda, that you'd like to share from the online experience that you had and that other members from your community had that you think it's valuable for the conversation?
I mean, we could probably talk about this for a very long time, right, in terms of the hate and the trolling aspect, but I think it's really important to stress that social media has been an amazing...
A force for good.
...tool for lots of people, but especially people with visible differences, to be able to see someone like them and hear about their experiences is really powerful. And there are studies that prove that seeing your likeness somewhere else improves your mental health, it improves your quality of life. So we don't want to take anything away from other people. We just want to be part. We just want to be part of it.
It's all, to make it a more enjoyable and safe place to be. I think that's it, in real life and in the social media tech world. I think that's what we all want, is to be able to navigate it more safely and happily and more welcomingly. I've had so many people over the years who have now created their own social medias through watching my videos. And I think a massive part of social media, or just, this world of having a visible difference, is allyship. And so being able to have a community to support each other online, I think, is really beautiful and really important. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, but I think the first step is the more you see something, the more, normalized it becomes. So it's so important from as far as, from top to bottom, teaching companies, speaking to them one-to-one, helping with co-creation from start to finish. It's not, you can skim the surface, but it has to go down to the roots, really, to get any proper concrete change.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Matilda, and thank you, Nikki, for joining me in this conversation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.